Absolutely love our next fight. At lightweight, we have Damir Hadzovic, the Bosnian Bomber, taking on Yancy Medeiros, crowd favorite, 5-time bonus winner with the UFC. 75 G's, baby! That's what they're saying these days. Now, I don't know if that's going to extend to fight nights. I don't know if it was because everything's bigger in Texas, but Vegas asked to get ready for this fight, which was originally scheduled between Hadzovic and Nicholas Mata. And while I would have loved that fight, in steps Yancy Medeiros on short notice. You know exactly what you're going to get out of him. It's either going to be one of the wildest fights you've ever seen, or way too much camaraderie with Donald Cerrone and his grandmother in a really, really odd one. But overall, Yancy Medeiros, very well-rounded. Fought at middleweight once with Strikeforce, which is crazy. And I think that thick boy picture is a Sherdog picture. But coming into this one, on a little bit of a salty run. If you really look into the 5 on in, it's not great. He's lost his last 3 to Cowboy Cerrone, Gregor Gillespie, and Lando Venata. And if you look at it for Damir Hadzovic, same deal. 2-3. You look at the losses. Alan Patrick over 3 years ago. He beats Nick Hein by split. He beats Polo Reyes. Yikes. He loses to Christos Iagos. You lose to Renato Moicano. The only thing that bugs me out of all of those, like, you think of Damir Hadzovic in your mind. You look at the picture that we have over there, and he's kind of like hunched over. But when you watch Damir Hadzovic fight, he's got that really high tie stance. He throws really good kicks. He's good boxing. He's good in and out. He struggles a little bit with the ground game sometimes, and we saw that in the fight against Moicano where it was like, okay, we're going to box. And then Moicano gets him in a body lock, trips him, takes him down. Moicano's in his guard, and he's like, I don't really like this anymore. So Moicano just stands up. Hadzovic lazily stands back up, and what does Moicano do? Inserts himself behind his back, pulls him down, and chokes him out. And then they had a weird exchange after that, because they're not friends. But in a fight like this, for Damir Hadzovic, he's out of Arte Suave now. He's working with, I don't know, Kenneth Berg. When's he ever coming to the UFC? 2020 was the year of Kenneth Berg rumors, and Penny Kianzad also there. It's an interesting fight for Hadzovic going from Mata to now Yancy Medeiros, who's back in Hawaii, training with Max Holloway at Gracie Technics in Honolulu.
This is a fight to figure out who's going to Bellator. And I hate that I have to say that, but let's be honest. I do think the loser of this is probably going to get cut. Because for Damir Hadzovic, like, you've had your opportunities. You fought Renato Moicano, who had so much hype down at 145. And let's be honest. Renato Moicano has never really been what we were promised. Like, he's a good fighter, but his best win is definitely the win over Cub Swanson. And a win over Cub Swanson. The win over Calvin Kattar was nice, but it's very early in Kattar's career. Now, I would say, yes, you got me there. Calvin Kattar is the better win. But when you look back, the biggest win of his career, especially at the time, was the Cub Swanson win. And then you look at Moicano up at lightweight. Okay, listen, getting knocked out by Fiziev, that's going to happen. It's going to happen to a lot of guys, and I'm assuming it's going to happen to a lot of ranked guys sooner rather than later. But still, he just looks so flat in that performance that when you lose to Renato Moicano at lightweight, I have a lot of questions about you fighting other lankier guys at that weight class. And it's not like Yancy Medeiros shares many similarities with Renato Moicano. I mean, build-wise, they're both kind of tall and thin. The thing I'm worried about in this fight is kind of the same thing we talked about after the Yancy Medeiros Lando Venata fight. You can get that great version of Yancy Medeiros where it's, oh, I'm going to flick the jab out there, I'm going to get cracked, I'm going to get into one of these crazy wars. Or you're going to get the version of Yancy Medeiros who's a little bit tentative, because he does realize that, like, those wars start to cause a toll on you, and I just don't think Yancy Medeiros has the same level of durability that he did earlier on in his UFC career. It's nothing against Yancy Medeiros, it's just, you can't have crazy fights with Cowboy, the Brazilian or the American version, and the likes in the lightweight division, and then just expect to continue to be able to have fights like that in his career. And this is a guy you have to remember, he fought at lightweight all the way back when Dustin Poirier was first on his run at lightweight. Now, Medeiros missed weight all the way back then. It's always something that I think about when I think about Yancy Medeiros, because after he fought Eric Silva, he said, hey, I'm probably never going to go back down to lightweight. Like, this is a really big win for me at welterweight, but that's my problem. He had a big win over Eric Silva at welterweight. It's been a while since Eric Silva was a big win at welterweight. I understand that was UFC 212. It was like Hawaii versus Brazil with Max Holloway fighting Jose Aldo at the top of the card. But my problem with Yancy Medeiros is I feel like we let the excitement of his fights get in the way of his skill set. With Yancy Medeiros, I think he's a decent fighter, and I think he would be considered a decent volume striker. But with Medeiros, he's not the most durable guy in the world. So if he is in those extended exchanges on the feet, I'm always worried he's going to get clipped, and especially at 155 with him cutting so much weight. I don't know, I'm just worried about the overall durability of Medeiros down at 155, and that's not a concern I have about Hadzovic.
I mean, Medeiros, like you said, much longer fighter. He's much taller, much longer in terms of the reach. You like to see that out of him, especially in the fights that, again, Medeiros is used to winning. You talked about it. Eric Silva, that's his fifth to last fight, and that was almost 4 years ago.
And that was an early stoppage, too, for what it's worth. If you're getting early stoppage wins over Eric Silva...
It's kind of tricky. If you look at the line for Medeiros, he opened a -125. He's a -105 right now, so some money's come in on Hadzovic. He opened a +105. He's at a -118 right now. If we have a look at the Tapology votes, a little bit of a surprise. 981 total votes, 73% Medeiros, 71% by decision. And throughout most of the video, while your mouth moved quicker than your brain did, and we really talked about this one between Medeiros and Hadzovic, you look at it, and it is a tricky one because... Medeiros training mostly his jiu-jitsu. It seems like he's going to work that into his game. He does have the striking available to him. For Damir Hadzovic, you look at some of the wins so far in the UFC, and again, he is also the older fighter, which is kind of tricky, less pro fights, but you look at the wins that he's had in the UFC. Martian Held, that was a crazy one. I mean, look at him now. Look at us. Crazy win with the PFL over Natan Schultz, but Nick Hein... the Sergeant, and then Polo Reyes, a little tricky. Marbek Taisumov, people are going to lose to him, and now that he just got his U.S. visa, I think a lot more people are going to be losing to him. But it is a really tricky one for me to try and pick. It is a very, very close line. So what are you thinking here?
I like Damir Hadzovic in this fight. I do, because if this fight is primarily going to be contested on the feet, which I do believe it is, at least he has some level of durability on the feet. Listen, Hadzovic is a guy who's been finished in the past too, but he's been able to get hit clean on the chin and still walk forward because of it. With Yancy Medeiros, it is one of those cases of when he does get hit, he tends to get rocked at this stage of his career. So I do ever so slightly have to side with Damir Hadzovic. It's not that I'm the most confident in this pick, and I do think this could be one of those underrated fight of the nights if it does turn into kind of the best version of what we're hoping it to be. But at the end of the day, I do have to take Hadzovic.
I mean, listen, Yancy Medeiros the last 3 years has kind of been like the Great Pumpkin. I mean, one fight, all of them losses. Is this the time that he comes out, Linus gets the blanket, and we all get a win? I don't know. And I am ever so slightly going with Damir Hadzovic as well. Bosnia and Herzegovina with the win. I have a really tough time, so if you can make a good argument below for either fighter, I'm definitely willing to listen to it, as well as on question mark kicks on Saturday. But it is a really tricky fight. You got the performance bonus machine and Yancy Medeiros taking it on short notice. You got Hadzovic, who we both have in this fight, Matt. Can't wait for this one. Great fights in the lower weight classes and some interesting ones in some upper weight classes. Ooh. We have a great card coming up this weekend. Not going to want to miss any of it, so keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say. Let's get into it.